everyone, and welcome to this episode of Retro-Aero's Hangar Hangout. I am your host, Check Pilot Dale. This episode is brought to you by Tailwheel Academy. If you're in need to learn the skills to staying alive while flying, a spin endorsement, tailwheel endorsement, or need a tailwheel ferried somewhere within the United States, call 1-888-TW-PILOT. And we are also being sponsored by AME Dillon Caldwell with offices in Pompano Beach and Naples. Visit aviatorsclinic.com for your aviation medical needs. And if you're interested in sponsoring Retro-Aero's Hangar Hangout, please email us at aviators@retroaero.com. All right, well, that out of the way, let me introduce our guests tonight. We have three guests with us. And first, let's talk to First Officer Tina. Hello, Tina.
Hi.
Tina, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a first officer in the airlines flying the 320 out of Florida. I am currently on reserve, which has been very interesting. A lot of first for that. I'm
sure.
Oh yeah. I'm an event chair on for women in aviation in one of the Florida chapters. And I still flight instruct, but not as much as I'd like to, since I'm on reserve and I never know when I'm going to get called.
It is nice to flight instruct when it doesn't pay the bills.
Exactly. This is more of like I want to do it.
Excellent. Very good. All right, next we're going to talk to student Juliana. Hello, student Juliana.
Hi, guys.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Juliana.
I'm a student pilot working on my private. I recently did my solo and pretty excited.
Congratulations. What got you into flying, Juliana?
I used to be a flight attendant, and I was always pilots, and one day I was, that's what I wanted to do.
Oh, excellent. Fantastic. Well, as it would happen, we have another former flight attendant with us. We have First Officer Rachel. Rachel, say hello.
Hello.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was a flight attendant for a major U.S. airline, and now I'm a pilot for one of their regional wholly owns. I fly the CRJ 7 and 900 series, and I'm based out of DC.
Now, do those have auto thrust?
They do not. So we actually have to fly the plane.
I don't understand that concept. I'm an Airbus pilot. It's Airbus on, Airbus off.
You and Tina are a little bit spoiled in that.
Yes, and I like it that way. So it's good to be spoiled. All right, well, thank you all for joining us here today. We don't have any listener feedback for this particular episode, so we're going to move on to our Hangar Hangout portion. And talk about some of our aviation firsts and congratulations. Does anybody have an aviation first or something or congratulations that they'd like to share? Juliana, you said you soloed just recently, right?
Yes, I solo. It's great, and it's so amazing that's making me feel like I can do that.
Congratulations. Where did you solo?
In Pompano Beach.
Oh, in Pompano. Very good. Excellent. What kind of airplane?
With a Cessna 172.
That's a classic. Excellent. My first solo was in a Cessna 172, so it's a great airplane. Anybody else have anything they've done for the first time? Tina, you mentioned being on reserve. You had a couple firsts.
Oh, yeah. One of them this was a while ago, but I guess it would be like a first time mentioning it on Hangar Hangouts. Would be finishing IOE at my first airline. And then starting reserve has been quite the process. Being on reserve.
Well, congratulations on getting through OE. What is, for those that don't know, what is OE? What do you mean by that?
Initial operating experience. So you would go up with a captain that's qualified to basically teach incoming first officers right out of training, pretty much what you do. Exactly. So they give you everyone's different. I realized I didn't even know this. I guess this is like an aha moment. Like some of the different airlines, they'll have like minimum qualification for your OE is like the first 25 landings, or it's 25 hours. I didn't even know that. I always thought like OE was just minimum 25 hours, and if you need more, you need more. But someone that I was talking to, he came from I think he came from PSA. He mentioned that it ended up being a little bit longer because they had to get through with 25 hours. Oh, not 25 landing, sorry.
Yeah,
And I was like, that's really nice.
Yeah, well, each airline, they can define, they have an agreement with the FAA as to what the minimum requirements are. There's the FAR requirement, and the airline can always require more. You can
Oh,
do slightly less than 25 hours with certain exemptions, and a lot of people go over 25 hours.
yeah.
It's more about your level of skills rather than the number of hours you have. So that's
Yeah.
good. And what does being on reserve mean?
Well, I'm on call. So I've tried several different reserve periods. So you're basically on call for a certain amount for a certain time. So my first reserve started from 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. So they could have called me anytime between that time period. Um,
How
my
fast do you have to
second,
get to the airport?
well, so I actually recently learned this too with talking with a crew scheduler because they had me try to do move up pay, and I was like, okay, this is new. Um, Technically it's 2 hours from your report time. That you have to be there, but
Mhm.
the call is 3 hours from takeoff.
Oh, okay. And that's contractual. You have to do that
Yes.
or else, right? Okay.
Exactly. So if if you had the unfortunate experience of having to commute for your first reserve, which I know several people in my class that did, which is awful, you basically have to go fly, stay at a crash pad or somewhere, and just wait for the call.
Yeah, let me tell you, that life is not the
It's
best.
horrible.
I did that all winter in DC and I was Les Miserables.
Well,
awesome.
there's the old saying, everybody has to pay their dues. And unfortunately, reserve is one of those dues that everyone has to end up paying for. Yeah, reserve is not the most fun. You have to call out. You don't know where you're going. You got to pack your bag with shorts and a parka because you don't know if you're going
Yeah,
to end up in the Caribbean or you're going to end up in Canada.
my bag's so random. I think there's literally like a tank top and sweatpants. I'm like, this is what we're going with, I guess. And I messed up the first time really hard on OE with forgetting that I'm not only in Florida. And I brought like flip-flops to Connecticut. It was like 40 degrees.
Don't
I could see my breath and I was like, this is so awful.
don't feel bad. I've been in this industry a long time, and last year I got a layover in New York in the middle of winter in January, and I didn't bring a jacket. I live in
Oh my
Florida. What do I need
gosh.
jackets for? So I'm standing out in the cold trying to look cool with just nothing but my uniform on, and everybody's looking at me like I'm crazy. So
Oh
yeah, that was
yeah.
a cold wait for the van. Anyway, so anybody else have any other firsts? No? All right, let's move on to our aha moment. Since we were just talking with Tina, I'm going to ask First Officer Rachel to share your aha moment with us.
Yeah, so I mean, just like every hangar hangout, I feel like I have a perfect aha moment when it comes, but then I have to like file it away and somehow dig it up. Um, but I would say getting like, especially going through instrument and doing like your commercial training, it's so important to get those readbacks from ATC. For example, my last trip last week, we were flying from DC down to Charleston. And what not a lot of people realize, I didn't realize this. So I guess it's an aha within an aha. But typically for most regional turns, so where you go from a base to an outstation and then back to the base, you typically carry the same flight number. So we were going down to Charleston, and the controller had given us a climb up to flight level 310. But we were filed at 30,000. So we were figuring, well, it's coming out of DC. There's probably a lot of traffic or something like that. So maybe, they're vectoring us around or giving us a different flight level. We didn't really question it. We started our climb. And as we were passing through 30, ATC, which was a different controller at this point, contacted us and was like, hey, stop your climb. And we're like, okay, leveled off, no big deal. And questioned them like, hey, why'd you have us stop the climb? And they were like, well, you were assigned to flight level 300. We were like, well, we were given 31. And we had gotten the read back from ATC as a confirmation that we were supposed to climb up to flight level 310. So,
did they actually clear you to 310, or did
they did give us? No, they did give us a 310. And we got the read back for it like before we initiated the climb up to 310.
Oh, okay.
So, but during the climb process, we had switched over to the next ATC sector. So we were talking to a different ATC controller, and that controller was the one that told us to stop the climb. And he was like, okay, you need to either be up at 32 or down at 30, because we were going south. So as everybody knows, as far as flight level rules, like we had to be even. So we're like, okay, we'll go back down to 30 since that's what our assign was. And he was saying because there was traffic like 20 miles to the south, that had we stayed at our the given altitude of 31, there could have been a possible pilot deviation. But because we rectified it within enough time, we didn't have any issues. So therefore, no paperwork or anything needed to be done. But it's just really important that if you get something that isn't what is planned, especially in your IFR training, like make sure you get the read back from ATC, because then it's on tape. They can pull it and verify. Come to find out that because we had the same flight number going back to DC from Charleston, we were assigned, or we were scheduled for flight level 310 for that return flight. So what could have possibly happened is the air traffic controller, because, you know, everybody's learning every single day. They possibly might have confused our return flight and given us the flight level for the return flight instead of the flight down to Charleston. Did you
guys file an ASA report, or what we call in the industry ASAP?
Yeah. We went ahead and did that just to like cover all of our bases. And we told the air traffic controller, even though like, hey, we're not, because there was no pilot deviation, we're still going to file a report just so that we have it on file, and it'll back up with the tape that, you know, we're obviously communicating on right now. But yeah, so it's really important to get those read back calls from ATC. And as you fly through busier sectors, that it can be frustrating to get those read back calls because they are just so busy. But definitely get them, because you don't want to be in a place where you're not, or on the wrong control frequency.
Yeah, not that that's ever happened. The good news is you trapped the error between the next controller trapped an error by his cohort. And it's interesting that his first thought was that you guys made a mistake, instead of going back and talking to the previous controller and asking them what altitude you'd been assigned. But the good news is, like you said, it was all on tape, and we have the what we call in the industry the ASAP program, which is where if an unintentional safety issue occurs, we can all learn from it and nobody gets in trouble for it. For the general aviation folks, that's your NASA report, the ASRS program, Aviation Safety Reporting System, and in the airlines we call it the ASAP system. So good news, and definitely a lesson learned. If it doesn't feel right, make sure to get it right. One thing I have noticed flying around too is you'll call for a clearance and it doesn't sound right, and you'll read it back, and the controller will read it back, and the controller will read back the wrong thing that you read back that was wrong. And then you have to query them again to get their attention like the third time before they realize what's happening. It's not just us that tend to parrot back what we hear, but the controllers too. So excellent aha moment. Thank you, Rachel, for sharing that. All right, Juliana, what aha moment do you have to share with us? Juliana, are you there with us? You still with us? Do we lose you? I think we lost Juliana. All right, well, that's okay. Maybe we'll get Juliana back before it's all said and done. Juliana. So Tina, Rachel, anything else you want to share before we call it a day?
I guess I don't even know if I've told anyone my aha moment, but my first trip on OE, this one kind of is similar to, I think, what Rachel kind of went through, but I was brand new. This was like my first trip, so I really had no idea. I think I was still at the gate like the whole trip. My first time in 121. But so the captain, when we do our briefings, we have to transfer control during the briefing.
Okay.
If you're if you're at cruise, like, nothing's going on, there's not high task saturation, it's just you're flying around in cruise, you don't have to exchange flight controls for the building process, but for the brief, you're required to always transfer control.
All right.
So when I was briefing, this was like a really short flight, so I ended up, getting into the briefing as we're descending. I was briefing and he had control, the check pilot. And during our descent, we were going over Houston. So, we're in the United States going over Houston, over the land. And then he had selected, which basically means like he selected the speed on the autopilot to be whatever speed that he wanted to be. And I believed it was like 280, because that's what the star required. But then they took us off the star and we were still at 280. Well, as I was briefing, he started, talking to me during the briefing. He was talking and talking and talking. And then I was looking at him, and all of a sudden it kind of registered to me. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, are we supposed to be at that speed, at this altitude? And all of a sudden, like in an instant, I see speed breaks, I see level off, I see all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, what is going on? Because we were at 8,000 and 280.
Oh no, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She
No.
going fast.
I was like, are we supposed to be doing this? Because there's this rule. When you're out 12 miles outside the shore, you can be like higher than 250.
Yes,
Below
the
10.
regulation doesn't apply out there, but
No, yeah, exactly. We were like
Yeah.
over Houston descending, and he technically had control of the aircraft, but because he kept, that's why it's so important to know who's flying the plane. Just in that, even though it's trivial, like we were fine, we were safe, everything was good. It was, we weren't, none of us were flying the airplane technically. And so when we landed, I kind of looked at him and I was like, hey, so, and ATC never said anything. They never said, oh, check your speed or nothing. I was like, oh, so, you think we should file an ASAP for that? And he's like, no, we're fine. And I was like, okay. So I went back to the hotel and I called my mentor, because our union, we have like mentors, but I've known him for so long. So he's like a friend of mine. I was like, hey, this happened. We were like, definitely several thousand feet below 10,000 at this airspeed. Do you think I should tell him like we need to file an ASAP? And he goes, send me, pull up the flight on FlightAware. I didn't even know you could see that on FlightAware.
oh yeah.
So it's like a second aha moment within one aha moment. And he texts back, definitely file an ASAP with like 17 exclamation marks. So I filed my first ASAP, but I told him about it. I told him exactly what I said, and he goes, all right, fine, I'll file one too.
Well, it was an unintentional error, and
Yeah.
so filing the ASAP keeps you free. Obviously, there was no conflict. The FlightAware is an interesting app. In fact, American Airlines found out about an incident where an airplane tried to land at the wrong airport because a passenger looked up FlightAware and then sent it into the company saying, is this what you're supposed to be doing? And then they found out who the crew was, who then promptly filed an ASAP report. So yeah, FlightAware knows all.
It really does.
And mistakes happen. It certainly happens, particularly in a training environment or when you're new. Everybody can make a mistake. The Airbus in particular is very easy to forget who's flying the airplane because the automation does such an excellent job.
Does everything.
Yes. And so that's why the procedures are set up to make sure that one person is always looking at the airplane. I welcome to the world. That this is not the first time that'll happen, and it won't be the last time that will happen.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I won't say I've maybe, but mistakes happen. The important thing is that we trap them, and that's where we want to go. So.
Yeah, and file an ASAP if you need to, because they really are free.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew captains that I used to fly with would file one every leg, which was a little excessive, but they had yeah, they do it every leg. They had a stack of them, and they'd hand it to me and go, here, fill this out. I'm filling one out. I'm like, we didn't do anything wrong. He's like, well, we were 150 feet off. I'm like, we get 200 feet. Nope, 150 feet
Yeah.
off. That's insufficient. I'm like, oh man. So there's all types.
Oh
Hey,
yeah.
Juliana. I think Juliana made it back. Juliana, you back with us?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, Juliana. Excellent. Welcome back.
Awesome.
Can
Thank
you?
you.
What's your aha
I have a
moment?
trouble. I had a trouble with my connection. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.
My hot moment is when I finally change flight school, because when I did my solo, I didn't have like first an amazing experience because my instructor never told me about it after checklist. So when you do your solo, you have to do takeoff, and 3 landings. So my first takeoff and landing was nice, but the second one, because I didn't know about the after landing checklist, I was nervous because of my solo, and I just tried to memorize what my instructor verbalized told me, but he never pointed out on the actual checklist that is checklist after landing, specifically for after landing. So I forgot to retract all the flaps, and
no.
I took off with all the flaps.
When did you discover that you'd forgotten the flaps, or the flaps were down?
Was too late. I was desperate praying. I thought that was it for me. I was flying over the ocean to crash in the airplane. Was really low and slow, and I was really to the building, so I to navigate first. And she was saying, "Hey, you told me would didn't work. Are you going there?" But I was navigate. Can you hear?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, Juliana. So what I heard was you had the flaps down, the airplane wasn't climbing, and then you went out over the ocean?
Yes, because that's for the all, because it was going slow, really low, and I know it would at any moment. So I don't hurt anybody.
Oh, I'm sorry, Juliana. You keep breaking up with your connection. When did you retract the flaps?
Oh,
Did you ever retract the flaps around on your solo?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Juliana. I think your connection is being intermittent again. I tell you what, Juliana, I definitely want to hear more about your first solo and hear more about that. But I think we're going to try and get it to a better connection first. Yep, we lost Juliana again. All right, guys, I tell you what. So we'll try and get Juliana back. I'll get her back on so she can tell us more about her amazing first solo and her aha moment there. Juliana, are you back again? We have just a few minutes left.
I'm so sorry, guys. Like my internet is really bad. Can you guys hear me better now?
Yes, I'm hearing you better now. So all right, so
yes. So I retracted the flags eventually, but I didn't know how long the airplane could stand to that configuration, low and slow, and that's how was my first solo. So I came back to the pod and landed, and I was thinking, should I just do my third lap again and get my endorsement, or should I just quit it? So I did my third lap, was fine, but was a learning experience that I would rather learn in a safe environment.
So you were breaking up earlier. So your flight instructor, you're saying your flight instructor never told you about the after landing checklist, and that's why you missed the flaps?
Yes.
Oh, I see. And did you change schools after that, or change CFIs?
I changed schools after that.
Okay. Well, that's one thing that's a good aha moment for everyone is that you got to remember who the customer is and who's the one being employed. Sometimes it's scary to try and change flight instructors, but it's really important to find someone you like working with and that you do want to work with so that you feel safe. And congratulations on getting through your first solo. Congratulations on analyzing that situation and not panicking and keeping control of your airplane. That's amazing. Well done.
Thank you.
And so I'm glad to see you're continuing your aviation journey. Please do so. And thanks everyone for being here. All right, before we go, Tina and Rachel would like to tell us a little bit about Women in Aviation Day, guys. What do you got to tell us? Tina, Rachel?
Well, we're having a Girls in Aviation Day on September 23rd. It's a Saturday from 10 to 3. We are having all ages through elementary and high school and middle school. So ages from elementary, middle, and high school. Okay. All ages. Joining us at Sun City Aviation Academy, and we're going to have lots of fun activities for everyone to enjoy, as well as some food at the end, and then a really fun raffle we have planned. And really, we're going to have a plane there, and we're going to give
a chance for students to experience aviation, most likely a lot for the first time, or if they've been interested in it and wanted to see what the school is like, see what, an airplane at 172 looks like, and then some other fun activities that are educational but fun.
So where can people go to find out more information?
Well, they can go on our website, WAI.FortLauderdale.com, and we also have our Instagram as well, which is WAI Fort Lauderdale.
All right.
That has the flyers there and everything.
So I'll put those in the show notes. And so anybody who's listening to this, you can check out our show notes for those links to Girls in Aviation Day at Sun City Aviation at Fort Lauderdale Executive, right?
Yes.
At Fort Lauderdale Executive Airport. For more information, check out the show notes. Check out the links in the show notes. It's WAIFortLauderdale.com for more information about Girls in Aviation. And Rachel, you are also involved in that, right?
Yes, Tina is the event organizer. I'm just a measly little member, but it's a great organization no matter what. If you're female or not female, if you are a man and would like to join Women in Aviation, you can join as an advocate, which we all need. And that way it still helps out our chapter. You can still be involved. And so come out on the 23rd to enjoy aviation through the eyes of women and celebrate the 9% of female aviators, which obviously on this call we're getting more added to that percentage. So
that's fantastic.
Hope to see everybody there.
Love it. It's great. We need to encourage more and more folk come join us in aviation. It is such a fun industry to be a part of. And I'm very honored to have all of you with me today. So thank you all for coming. I think we're going to call it a day. And I'll say tailwinds to everyone and everyone. Thank you for coming.
Don't forget your croquis. Hugo Boss. All shades, all colors, shapes, and sizes.